The biggest democratic exercise in the world kicks off. India votes in the first phase of the 2019 general election. 91 seats going to the polls today. These are India's bravest voters giving a befitting reply to terrorists. High voter turnout recorded in tense areas of Jammu and Kashmir and Naxal-hit belts of Chhattisgarh. Clashes on polling day in Andhra Pradesh. TDP worker hacked to death during a violent confrontation with YSR Congress workers. But Dalit voters stopped from casting their votes in Uttar Pradesh. BSP levels serious charges against the state police, demands immediate intervention from the Election Commission. And offering prayers on nomination day, Sonia Gandhi files her candidature from Rai Bareli. Smriti Irani from Amethi. It's a battle of prestige for both the Congress and the BJP. What's that green light on the temple of Congress President Rahul Gandhi? A laser light sparks a scare. Congress calls it a security breach. Special Protection Group or SPG rules out sniper threats, saying the green light was from a cell phone. The battle has well and truly begun. The biggest electoral exercise in the world is underway. It commenced today with voting for the first phase done. There were some incredible images from the first-time voters, some skirmishes as well, some controversies, but all in all, a very significant and largely successful election day. As always, we are here with all the updates and analysis and a special panel of guests tonight. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay. You're watching India Election Watch. The world's largest election exercise began today, this Thursday, 11th of April. The first phase of voting is done. The fate of nearly 1,300 candidates has been sealed. Major states recorded a good turnout till the last reports came in. Till 5 p.m. today, Bihar recorded a little over 50% voter turnout. Telangana, nearly 61%. Meghalaya, 62%. Uttar Pradesh, nearly 50%. Manipur had a high turnout of 78%. So did the state of Assam and the island of Lakshadweep. And these are numbers till 5 p.m. We will have an updated tally later. Today was the first wave of millions of citizens casting their ballots, but these numbers will give you an idea of the sheer size of the exercise. Voting happened in 18 states and 2 union territories. 91 Lok Sabha seats are part of the first phase. Nearly 15 crore voters were eligible to vote. This included more than 7 crore men and almost as many women. For the first time in India's history, nearly 8,000 transgenders were identified on the voter list. For this exercise, the Election Commission set up more than 1 lakh polling booths, and 1,279 candidates were in the fray for the first phase alone. So 1 down, 6 more to go in this year's general election. Counting will begin at 8 a.m. on the 23rd of May. This is the biggest, perhaps among the longest democratic exercises as well, an election spanning more than a month. Naturally, the world has its eyes on India. Let's bring you some numbers to show the sheer scale of this endeavor. 900 million Indians are registered to vote. 11 million officials are on election duty. 1 million polling stations are being set up. More than 2,000 registered parties are in the fray. More than 2 million electronic voting machines are being set up. But beyond the numbers, beyond the scale, why does this phase matter? And what should be one reading from it? First things first, this phase, the first one, sets the tone for the upcoming battles. It tells you who has the momentum. This is going to be a long election, as I said. What happens today will impact the battle ahead. The optics matter, which explains all the pujas we saw today. UPA chairperson Sonia Gandhi filing her nomination. Besides, this first phase covers the expanse of India. 42 Lok Sabha seats in the south, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, 13 out of a total of 25 Lok Sabha seats in the northeast. Constituencies in Uttarakhand and Jammu and Kashmir, Chhattisgarh, parts of Maharashtra and western Uttar Pradesh. The sentiment today will give you a measure of what's ahead. The second thing about the first phase is that it's a test of the opposition's Kairana model. What is the Kairana model? 8 seats from western UP go to the polls in this phase. The BJP had won all these 8 seats in 2014. That's when the opposition was divided in UP. Later, there was a by-election in Kerala. The SP, BSP and the RLD joined hands for that by-election. Their candidate beat the BJP by 65,000 votes. That experiment, that coming together of these opposition parties, is called the Kerala model. Will it work again? The opposition Gathbandhan has fielded some big candidates like the RLD father-son duo of Ajit Singh and Jayant Chaudhary. They hope to consolidate the anti-BJP vote in UP. Saharanpur and Kerala are two polarized constituencies. They voted today. The opposition is hoping to trump the BJP with their combined strength. Now let's come to the poll math. Out of the 95 seats that polled today, the BJP had won 32 in 2014, about one-third. This time, they're contesting on 28 of those. The others have gone to allies. The Congress had won only 7 of these 91 seats the last time. In the South, the Congress does not have much hope. Telangana is pretty much in the TRS bag. Andhra Pradesh is rooting for Jagan Reddy's YSR Congress, it seems. Both will hurt the Congress. Next comes Bihar. 4 seats there. The JDU has high hopes from them. The Congress is banking on a better tally in Maharashtra and the Northeast. It has fielded some big candidates in the Hindi heartland and Kashmir. A weak show will seriously dent their chances of revival. Another worried party is Chandrababu Naidu's Telugu Desam. It is facing a tough battle in Andhra Pradesh. Jagan Reddy is eating into their share. The state is voting for assembly elections as well. A good turnout is being seen as a boost for Jagan Reddy. In neighbouring Telangana, the TRS is aiming for 16 out of 17 seats. The 17th, that is Hyderabad, goes to Owaisi, no two ways about it. Less than 15 would be bad news for KCR. He has been talking about a federal front. He needs the numbers to back his ambition. He even advanced assembly elections to coincide with Lok Sabha and to put up a good fight. Twin elections in Odisha as well. The Biju Janata Dal of Naveen Patnaik wants to retain all the 4 Lok Sabha seats from this phase, not to mention a majority in the assembly. He wants a 5th term. Point number 4 on our list, the Northeast, a very important region. 13 out of 25 seats are up for grabs there. This includes 5 seats in Assam. The BJP had won 4 of these in 2014. The BJP had made significant gains in the Northeast. They stitched up strong alliances, but the furor over the Citizenship Amendment Bill has undone a bulk of their work. The so-called NEDA, the Northeast Democratic Alliance, is still alive. Today will be a test for that coalition. The Congress struggled in the northeastern region. It looks to have lost its traditional hold. Defectors from other parties have added to its muscle. In this phase, the Congress is fighting for relevance in the northeast. And finally, reason number 5 on why this phase is very crucial. The farmers will give the verdict today, or have given the verdict today. The sugarcane farmers of Western UP are angry. The farmers of Vidarbha have been driven to suicide. The farmers of Telangana are so disaffected, 179 of them are contesting from a single seat just to make a point. It is a big issue, the agrarian crisis, and the government knows it too well. The political cost of rural distress. The BJP recently lost 3 states in the Hindi heartland. They've tried to work on it since then. The problem is very simple. The farm output is more than the demand. Prices have declined. Farm income has come down. What farmers get, the minimum support price, is well below the market price. They don't earn enough. The issue of setting right procurement prices has not been settled. India's rural problem is structural. The solutions are manifold, but political parties see only one solution, and that is a loan waiver. The Congress has promised loan waivers. It has announced minimum income plans. The BJP has promised to double the farm income, but it has not given any clarity on how it will do it. As for the farmers, they continue to suffer across the country. And now they're upset, not just with the BJP and the Congress, but also with the TRS and the TDP. Phase 1 will give politicians a measure of this anger. Joining us this evening for a special discussion is Walter Anderson, author and American academician, with us from the US. Good evening, Walter. 1 down, 6 to go. Yes, everyone who's followed this Indian election has a theory on who is winning and why. What is your theory?
Well, my long years in diplomacy taught me not to make too precise a prediction, because you're very likely to be wrong and people remember it. But, if you look at the polling suggests that the NDA has an advantage. And the poll of polls, a recently one I saw, have them, quite close to a majority, not at a majority, but quite close. and the Congress about less than half of that, with the remainder being regional parties. So at least on that, basis, on the polling basis, it seems that the NDA has an advantage. The other point I think to keep in mind is the polling also suggests that in India, people make up their minds relatively early in the polling process. It used to be they'd made up their minds quite late, but that doesn't seem to be the case, that more and more are making their minds up early. If that's the case, then polls are a good indicator of where things are going.
Right. So you're saying the NDA has the advantage. When you speak to people here, they speak about the ruling setup in two parts. There is Narendra Modi and there is the BJP and the government. So when they have some angst, when they have some issues with the ruling dispensation, it's usually anti-incumbency for the BJP, not for the Prime Minister. Has Mr. Modi, according to you, been able to successfully distance himself from the anti-incumbency while all the time steering the ship?
I think it's a brilliant point. To distinguish Modi as a person and his charisma from the party. You're right. All polling shows that he outpolls the BJP considerably. Question I think that you're asking is there a lap over, from Modi to the party? Most people seem to think that support for the leader translates into support for the party. A lot depends, though, on how angry they are at the administration, particularly locally, and then combine that with some local factors like caste, for example, or religion. But my own feeling is that there tends to be a lap over from the popularity of the Prime Minister, and he is charismatic, and he far outdistances his party in many places.
Right. Also joining us is Professor Makarand Paranjpe. He's Director of Indian Institute for Advanced Studies, with us from New Delhi, I'm told. Professor Paranjpe, what is your calculation? Is this an election Modi versus the rest, or will it boil down to individual constituencies?
Well, it's both. It's a combination, obviously. As you just heard, the charisma of the leader is really important, because whether we like it or not, this is a presidential style election, and if you ask the common person on the street, their basic issue is this: do you want Modi back for another 5 years or not? They're not that concerned with which party they bring in. But we can't rule out, all the other considerations, the local, the party, the candidate. The candidate locally is also really important, because we saw in Madhya Pradesh that certain candidates are so disliked by their voters, by the constituency, that they want them out, whether or not they like the leader or the party. The other thing I wanted to say is what's so interesting about these elections. It's a triangular kind of contest. So on the one hand, you have these regional parties with their feeble attempts at getting together, and then you have a presidential style face-off between Narendra Modi, the incumbent Prime Minister on the one hand, and Rahul Gandhi, a rising star. So I think there are all these three factors that are going to play an important role. And I feel that the BJP may poll, fewer, maybe they'll have the same percentage of votes or even more, but the seat count may come down this time. And the Congress seat count may go up. But all the same, I still see the BJP coming back.
Right. It's interesting that you call it a presidential style contest. So then my next question to you is this. Has Rahul Gandhi then shed the Pappu tag, and is he better poised for a personality battle now than he was in 2014?
Who would you like to answer that?
Definitely. He is sort of grown a little bit, but yet he doesn't sort of match the PM. I think there is a certain kind of immaturity that comes across, and I think that in a straight fight, I don't think he has a chance. But as I said, the Congress engine, the Congress machine, its publicity and its preparation look really better. And there is some anti-incumbency, whether we like it or not. What I call fatigue, fatigue with the same faces, with the same rhetoric. The same rhetoric is carried on for 5 years, and obviously voters do want a little bit of a change. And the X factor in these elections is always you know, the Mahagathbandhan or the Mahamilawat, call it what you will, I think the local factors will definitely play a role.
Right. Walter Anderson, your thoughts on Rahul Gandhi and whether you believe he's come of age and whether he's lost, many say he's lost the golden opportunity to capitalize on the state election wins. He could have stitched alliances. They're still going back and forth in Delhi. In Uttar Pradesh, they say that we are open to a post-poll alliance, but Mayawati and Akhilesh lose no opportunity in saying that the voters should not waste their vote for Rahul Gandhi. So does this show desperation, better preparedness? How do you assess the Congress's electoral fight?
Well, the Congress has always had a certain weakness at the structural level and still do. And in fact, one of the great advantages I was going to mention before that the BJP has, it has a huge cadre of people willing to work for it, you know, and largely from the RSS. And we're talking about several 100,000 people who are willing to go out and get the vote, encourage people to get to the polling. And at the end of the day, those sorts of things count. Now, to Rahul Gandhi and his style, I know a few people, personally know a few people who are close to the family, and they say he has improved considerably in in his style. But you're against a person like Modi, and I totally agree with the other speaker that this has aspects of a presidential election. It's Rahul versus Modi. You have one of the most effective speakers, political speakers in the world, and Prime Minister Modi. He's phenomenal. I watch him, I've seen him many times to give a speech. He blocks out the world around him. It's like a person, an actor going on the stage. He gets up and it's like someone turns on a switch and out comes this very emotional speech, well organized. I'm amazed at how well organized they are. Look at the audience. They tend to sort of be receptive. I don't see that nearly as effective. So there's the two aspects of, in the presidential as who has the more effective style, speaking and ability to touch people, and organization. The BJP, because of the vast cadre of people willing to work for, has an enormous advantage in that. They also have more money. All the records indicate that they have about 5 to 6 times, if not more, cash on hand to use for a variety of purposes, for electoral purposes.
Indeed, they do, and they're spending more. All the ad figures show, both on social media and otherwise, the BJP is spending more. Professor Paranjpe, what I want to ask you is this. You say that the BJP is most likely coming back in power with fewer numbers.
Can I comment on the earlier question?
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. Palki, can I come back
Absolutely.
on the earlier question? I think that was a very important question you raised. I don't believe that the Congress should be desperate in stitching up alliances where it comes across as not only the second, second-rate partner or, in fact, the kind of humiliating terms offered in UP, just 2 seats, or, even in Delhi. I think it should position itself as the national party which wants to challenge the BJP. So I think that not stitching up alliances is not going to go against the Congress. I think that their strategy should be, that's why I said it's a three-cornered contest. There are 2 national parties, and then there's a bunch of, regional parties, a configuration of them, in fact. So I don't tend to think of them as, failing because they couldn't, make these alliances where they're obviously the junior partner, which they shouldn't be. Now, coming back to the point that was made by the other speaker, the first thing to remember is the BJP today is the largest political organization in the world with more than 100 million members. Now, how that translates to votes is complicated. We don't know if all these 100 million members vaunted or, boasted 100 million figure are going to translate to votes. But for sure, they're a gargantuan organization. The second thing he said, I completely agree. The charisma of Narendra Modi, he is a political personality par excellence. He goes into this zone, he stands in front of his audience, and he's into this zone in which these amazing, not only facts, figures, but slogans, pop out in a sequence that is almost mesmerizing. He enthralls his audience. But once again, we shouldn't consider that all of this is going to immediately turn into votes. The fact is that people respect him and want him again as Prime Minister. But I think that all these other factors, the local factor, the local candidate, the BJP and its image,
right.
in the constituency, the caste, you know, the community and religion. You know, don't forget, religion is going to play such a huge role. You know, the Muslim votes in certain constituencies are going to be a deciding factor. You know, if they are not divided, if they vote en bloc. Which brings us to the other point that you raised, which is, do votes transfer? Let's say Akhilesh and Mayawati are together. Does it mean their entire vote bank will transfer? I'm not sure. I think the Jatavs are very loyal to Mayawati, but I'm not sure whether the other SC votes are also going to transfer to the alliance.
Right. I'm running out of time, but I want to ask this question to both of you, starting with you, Professor Paranjpe. You say that most likely Narendra Modi is going to come back to power with fewer numbers. That seems to be the general assessment also. If that happens, it will be the first time in the history of independent India that the Congress will be out of power at the center for a decade. Is this, in a sense, Congress Mukt Bharat that Amit Shah keeps talking about?
I don't think so. I don't think we are looking at a Congress Mukt Bharat in any, you know, near future. I think there is a space for a counterbalancing factor, political factor in the Indian scenario, and the Congress, if it gets its act together, will be waiting in the wings. So I don't think about this as a Congress Mukt Bharat. And by the way, we don't know, this is the first phase of the polls, and what's extraordinary, I'm sure you brought it up, is the high voter turnout, 70%. And in places like Jammu and Kashmir, which are, you know, rife with militancy, we've had more than 50% turnout. So I think there's a great enthusiasm for this carnival called Indian democracy. And in the remaining phases, things may go, you know, in any which way. It's too early to tell.
Absolutely. Walter Anderson, your thoughts on this 10 years out of power for the Congress party?
Well, I think that will damage, in many ways, the Congress. The Congress in the past has survived in part because it was dispenser of patronage. And now it's 10 years without that patronage. And it's never been a very ideological party. It's been, as some people describe it, that appeals to many, but, you know, it doesn't have a firm ideological message. Except maybe in the past it was secularism, but it's becoming increasingly, what should I say, more a Hindu in its, you know, in its orientation. I noticed that Priyanka went to a temple before voting, and it was widely publicized that she did that. So, you know, you have, you know, on the one hand, you have the BJP, which has a distinct, you know, there's an ideology and an organization. And you have a Congress which, out of power for 10 years, is, you know, would be the case if it were to lose again. I think creates certain problems for the Congress party, and maybe even the unity of the party, you know, might as well be challenged as people begin to look at why they didn't come back to power.
It's going to be an interesting summer. Thanks very much. As you said, it's just the first phase. Who knows what lies ahead. Thank you very much, both of you, Walter Anderson and Makarand Paranjpe, for joining us and for this very engaging discussion. We have called it the Carnival of Democracy. We've put together some of the most dramatic, some of the most interesting and touching images from the first phase of polling. Leaving you with this. Thanks very much for watching.
में तो सबसे पहले वोट दे देंगे, उसके बाद सारा काम होगा।
राष्ट्रीय पर्व है हमारे लिए वोट डालना, और हम इसे राष्ट्रीय पर्व के रूप में मनाते हैं।
वोट दिया।
सरकार कोई भी बने, अपने देश की प्रगति होनी चाहिए और युवाओं को जॉब मिलनी चाहिए।
विकास को वोट देना है।